Hello, this is Mark Gavor. Welcome to BSC 2510 Excel 1 Part 1, some basic Excel skills. In this, we are looking at some data here. We did a survey of some students, the number of pets they own, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the frequency at which they own them. Well, one thing we might want to do is total up the number of people that we had. I would go here to Auto Sum, and it highlights all the numbers above it up till the first word, which is the heading. And if I just hit enter, it will sum up the numbers. The other thing I could do is if I highlight all the numbers and I come down here and look, it tells me what the sum is. So the sum is 176. That's very nice. A couple things we wanted to do was take the frequency. Frequency percentage. Well, if we take the frequency percentage, that means I want to divide the 55 by the total. And I get 0.3125. We'll change it to percentage in a minute. If I was to drag that down, you would see I'd get errors, because here it's C4 divided by C10, and the next one is C5 divided by C11. It increments each time, and if I click on it, it says I'm dividing 49 by the number below 176, which is 0 dividing by 0 gives me this error. So what I want to do is I want to go back to my original data, and I want to put a dollar sign between the C and the 10. This anchors C10 when I click and drag, and now it will give an answer. Very nice. If I was to sum that up, notice it adds up to 1, which is equivalent of 100%. The other thing I could do is I could say Control C of the 176, Control V, and it now sums up the data above it. But like we said, it's not in percentages. It would be nice to have this numbers in percentage. Let's change them to percentages. There we have it. I just clicked on percent. If I want more decimal places, I could do that, but I think for the purposes here, 0 decimal places is enough. The other thing we wanted to do was have cumulative percentage. Now, what is cumulative percentage? Well, at 0, it basically means I have 31%. But when I get to 1, how much of the population have I accumulated at this point? Well, certainly I have the 31% from the previous, but I also have the 28% of one pet ownership, and it adds up to 59. If I click and drag, I don't want to go all the way to the bottom, but just to the fifth one, you'll see that it keeps adding. 59 and 21 is indeed 80. 80 plus 11 is 91. 91 plus 6 is 97. Then I add the final 3%. I get 100%, which is what I expect to have accumulated when I'm done with number 5. So I'm doing pretty good. Now, maybe I want to format this a bit, because look at this cumulative percentage is just hanging over. There's a couple things I could do. I could highlight all of them and just double click on the corner here. Oops, I'm sorry. Highlight all the columns and double click on the corner, and it makes them all the same space. It form fits the column. Why don't we just do that for this time? The other thing I could also do is I could wrap the text. So now if I want to take each column at a time and make it just a little bit more compact, I could do this. Same thing for this column. Oh, I caught the Y. I don't want to catch the Y there. And then these I would leave. This one I could change too. So I could highlight all of this. I could put a box around it if I want. I could make these bold, left justify them. And if I wanted to, I could put a blue heading, which is what I always like to do. I don't know why I do that, but I do. And there we go. The other thing we want to get, we want to calculate the average. Well, I have 55 zeros, 49 ones, 37 2s, 20 3s, 10 4s, and 5 5s. So I could add 0 to itself 55 times plus 1 to itself 49 times plus blah, 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 all the way down and divide by 176. But I know that if I add a number to itself multiple times, it's the same as multiplication. So what I really want here is frequency times number of pets. Notice it added the same formatting that I had. I just had to change it a little bit. There we go. That's looking pretty good now. It didn't add the box. I can add that later. So what I want to do, I want to take 0, number of pets 0, times, which is the asterisk, the frequency. Well, I expect 0 times 55 to be 0. But if I copy this all the way down, I will get 49. I will have this. And if I want to copy the sum, I could copy the sum. Or I could undo it, and I could just say auto sum, and it would do the same thing. Let me put boxes around all of that. So what is the average number of pets now? Number of pets owned. And maybe I will make that left justified too. I'll make that bold, and I'll make this, I want to make this yellow. That's where my answer is going to be. Average number of pets owned. I have equal sign, which means I'm going to do some arithmetic in there. 248 divided by the total number, 176. So I have 1.409090991. I think taking it down to 3 or even 2 or 1 decimal place, 1.4 pets is owned. And so if I take, that's the number of pets that we expect. What's a quarter of a pet or 40% of a pet? Well, I'll leave that to you. Let me add another column in here. And if I want to add a column, I just say, highlight the column and say insert. And I want to call this labels. Why am I calling this labels? We'll see in a second. I want to call it 0 pets means person owns no pets. They could own 1 pet. They could own 2 pets. They could own 3 pets, 4 pets, or 5 or more. So I could go here, I could make that bold, not italic. Notice I didn't left justify it because the column below it is, or right justify it because the column below is left justified. I left it just like it is. And let's put boxes around that. And let's highlight that in our favorite little blue color. Now down here, since these are totals, why don't I merge these 2 cells, which is merge and center right here. And then if I type in there total, it will center it and it will look kind of nice. Since the header and the footer of the table, I'm going to make it the same and bold it so that my totals are bolded. And now I have a nice column that I could copy paste into another document should I want to do that. So that's setting up my table. That is the end of this video. We will come back to this exact data table and do the graphics associated with it in the next.